Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and we explore today another parable which is found only in Mark. The seed growing secretly. We'll explore this parable in my new series. And this parable, as I said, only found in Mark. And it is very short parable comparing with other parables of Jesus. But nevertheless, personally, I just love the insights that I gained from this small parable. The title I made up, but most people know by this title, the parable of the seed growing secretly. But actually, it does not grow secretly, right? We know, but we do not know how it grows. So we just say growing secretly. So Mark 4:26, 29, we will read what is said there. He, Jesus, also said, the kingdom of God, which means, right, the reign of God or the rule of God, is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground. So as if someone would scatter, right, scatter seed on the ground. Last time we saw about the sower's parable. The sower went out to sow the seed. Similarly here, the kingdom of God is compared to the image of someone who would scatter seed on the ground, right? On the ground, okay? Just any ground. And would sleep and rise night and day. That's interesting, right? In the previous parable of the sower's parable, we did not see this kind of aspect. The sower, whoever that person might be, scatter seed, and after doing that, and coming back home, and sleep and rise night and day, right? That's all, what we do. And see what happens here. The seed will sprout and grow. He does not know how. That's interesting, right? The sower does not know how the seed sprout and grow. That's realistically true, and we all understand what this means. Even these days, I have a small yard in my house, and every early morning, I just go out to see how my little plant grow, right? I'm so caring about all these plants, but my job is very limited in certain way. Although I sowed some seeds, I watered sometimes, but otherwise, I'm just watching. And 28th verse here, the earth produces of itself. That's marvelous. That's a miracle. That's something we cannot control, right? The earth produces of itself. First the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his sickle, and because the harvest has come. As I said earlier, this parable is very short and unique to Mark. It's similar kind of parable we saw in the sower's parable, right? The same sower, but different kind of activities are seen here. That's interesting. And different aspects of the sower, right? So we'll see more about the sower's activity here. What can we learn from him or her, right? In regards to the reign of God. And certainly here, there is an emphasis on the growth of the seed. As compared to other parable of the sower, we did not see that aspect, okay? The process of the growth. And also here, the emphasis here, we have to work at harvest time, right? Not just waiting, but if the grain is ripe, and we should act quickly and do something. We have to harvest the crops. So what, kind of things we may observe from this parable? As you already realized, right? The sower's work is very limited here. The sower's work is very limited here. In other words, you are not responsible for all or everything from sowing to the harvest. But you have to do something in the beginning, which is what? Early in the morning, you go out. You have to rise up and go out. That's first thing. Your departure is important. Get up and go to sow the seed. To sow the seed. Why do you do? Because you have to feed yourself and family, right? You have to sow the seeds, and you may expect then something, right, in the fall, a great harvest coming back. What does this mean? Even the sower's work is limited, but the sowing, going out to sow the seed, that activity is the starting point and also, very important. Otherwise, nothing gonna come out unless you go out to sow the seed. Nothing gonna come out. So the implication here is that know what you have, what you received from God. Use what you have in your hand, right? Don't waste seed in your hand. Don't own that for your own sake. You have to use what you have, which we may call the talents or the grace of God. Things that you have, you received from God. Okay, that is what? Sowing the seed. Use what you have. Do what you can now. Okay, although it's very limited, but that is the beginning point. Once the seed is sown, then see what happens. Okay, the parable emphasizes the sower's job is very limited in a way, just watching how the seed grows. Here says the seed would sprout. That's a miracle. How does it happen? We do not know. Maybe science can explain to you, but science does not satisfy us in all our questions. Where is the life coming from, right? How life began? Where are we coming from? There's a whole lot of questions nobody can answer and satisfying, okay, our thirst. But the fact is that the seed would sprout and grow. That's the fact we observe. Anyone can see these things are happening. In some way, we can say the nature doesn't tell a lie, right? The earth produces of itself. Earth does not discriminate against any seed. The good seed is sown and planted there. The earth does its job. So honest, so good, so diligent. So interestingly here, the contrast is what? The sower does not know how all this happens, how the seed would sprout and grow, because the earth produces of itself. We are just amazed by this process, things happening, right? The other similar observation we can see clearly here is that, well, as the parable emphasizes, there is a process of growth, a process. Nothing gonna come in one day, 1 month. There must be a painful process of growing, as we all know, right? First, beginning with a stalk and the head and the full grain. There is a process. See the field, see the plant in your garden, right? There is process. We have to honor that process. We have to honor, respect that process, and wait patiently. When the grain is ripe, there must be an urgent work of the harvest. Okay? When the harvest comes, you cannot leave that alone, right? You have to do something. You have to harvest the crops. Very urgently, you have to do. So as we already knew, okay, some implications for the reign of God. First of all, you have to sow, right? No matter how limited you are, we receive the great things. We have a potentials in our hands, in our community. We have something to sow. We have some good, excellent quality of seeds in our hands. Sometimes we do not realize how precious things we have, how much potential we have. Sow the seeds you have. So your basic job is to sow the seed, whatever that is. Okay? You have to know and realize what you have and use them and go out to the field and sow the seeds. Know your time. You have to get up, know your time, right? It's a season that you have to sow. There are seasons that you have to honor. There is a time that you have to sow. Time to water, time to wait, watch, okay, time to pray and thanksgiving. And after that, once you sow the seeds, right? And you have to know there must be some great things which should happen to your sowing, right? Your sowing does not produce of itself something great because there must be some cooperation. In other words, you have to respect the work of God, honor the grace of God. There must be good wind and sunshine, right? There must be a proper time of growing and the earth. There's so many things that have to work with your sowing. Okay? Your sowing is not completing everything else. So you have to know, acknowledge things that you do not control, things that you have received. So honor the process. Similarly, trust the process in the work of God, right? So there is a process of the growth. So trust the process. If you are in the seminary, in the church, or in your job, or in your personal training, whatever that may be, you know, we have to trust the process that God is working out for us. Sometimes we are too impatient, right? We should honor the time and the process that God may work out. We need time, God's time. So trust the God and the process. But at the end, there will be harvest. All our hard work would not end in vain. We expect a harvest. The end is harvest. You must harvest the crops in timely manner. Once you are trained, for example, right? You should not waste your gift. You have to give back what you received from God to the community. This is a time for giving back to the community and for glorifying God. So I just suggested you here 4 kinds of things we can do: sow, honor, trust, and harvest. So as you have already gotten some important reflection questions already, but nevertheless, I'd just like to give you just 4 things. Compare this parable of the seed growing secretly with the sower's parable. How are they different? And what different aspects of the reign of God are emphasized? You know, the sower's parable emphasizing the sower's indiscriminate action or activity of scattering the seed. In other words, the sower does not choose which lot, which place to sow, right? Just scattering the seeds, giving the opportunities to everybody, covering the whole lot, even losing some seeds he or she doesn't care about, but the focus is on the land, the lot given by God. You know, indiscriminate the scattering of the souls. That's the point. But here in this parable of the seed growing secretly, the other aspect of God's reign was emphasized. That is what? We do not do everything. Okay? There is things that we can do, we should do, but there are also things we cannot do. Okay? So we have to know the boundary between God's, work or area and our work and area. So think about next question then, what you can, what you should do. What you should do versus what you cannot, what you should not do in the work of God, in the process of God. Right? I think that is fundamentally important. Whatever you do in your community or personally, in family, even in society, we have to know the boundary between God's sovereignty, God's work, versus what we should do. And the next question is, why is the process of growth important? I think this is important. When we are teaching or learning or wherever we are, somehow everything involves the process, right? A human being is born, growing, maturing, and dying. There is a cycle, right? There is a cycle, life cycle. Everything in the world going through kind of process. So we have to honor this process. We cannot prevent or inhibit all this great, marvelous process. What we should do, we have to watch how God works, right? How God works. We have to respect the work of God. The last question I have here, what's the meaning of the harvest? When the full grain is ripe, there must be no hesitation, right? We have to go out to the field with sickles and the crops, harvest crops immediately. Why? Because we need it, by the way. We need the harvest and crops. Why? We have to feed ourselves, right? That's the end of the process, feed ourselves. We have to celebrate the gifts of God, abundant life, feed ourselves. And also we have to share what we have with others. I mean, abundant crops. We cannot use for ourselves only, right? We have to share the crops we gathered. And also at the harvest, you know what? Your field is empty now, right? And you have to prepare for next, field, next cycle of growth. You have to prepare using your harvest. So this is kind of questions that I brought out for you. So you may consider, okay, making your own, and also hopefully I want you to explore further and applying to what you have in your life situations. And I just humbly ask you, if you like this video, please like it, and don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel because I will add more videos for coming weeks and months, okay? So you can find the subscribe button at the lower right-hander of your screen, okay? You'll find the subscribe button and subscribe to it. And so you will get more information and see my future video. Also, if you're interested in my works and other information, and visit my blog, drkimys.blogspot.com, or just Google on my name. Okay, thank you so much for watching. So I promise to you that I'll come back with the other parable until I would cover all 23 parables in the Synoptic Gospels that I promised you. Okay, so 23 parables only I will cover in my video. Thank you for watching. So hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.